So, do you just get a record changer and you don't know how to use it? Here's a simple video on how to use the record changer, especially for those who have it on an all-in-one stereo. For those with an all-in-one, just set your selector on the phono switch or turntable switch, and then make sure the cartridge is working. You can just do a light tap on the stylus. Now make sure the motor is spinning. The platter spins free. That's a good sign. In the case of BSR changers, it's actually pretty common for the platter to seize up, but this applies with any other changer. Just make sure the platter spins freely. Now, some changers do not have an overarm, but for those that do, you want to move this out of the way. And here's your stacker spindle. You could, on most changers, you could stack up to 6 records at a time. And make sure you have the correct size selection switch setting. So in this case, we're going to put 2 records straight up. You want to make sure you don't actually touch the grooves. Now make sure you have your speed selection switch set properly. Right here. In this case, both are 33 1/3 RPM. And here's your size selection right here. 7, 12, 10 or 12 inch. Most of them have a 7 inch or 12 inch setting. Some will also have a 10 inch setting. But either way, make sure it's the correct size, as that will determine the position the tone arm will be set on. So now, turn it on and slide it all the way down to where it says auto, or in some changes it will say reject. Now if you want to change records, just hit that auto setting again. So it's going to reject the record. Now, if you only have one record, you could do the following. If you don't want the changer to auto shut off, just raise the overarm like this, and the record will repeat itself after the record ends. Yeah, I gotta fix that thing. And watch, it's gonna repeat itself. You can also do it manually if you want it to repeat itself in this position. Now, with these type of overarms, when it's all the way down, it will allow the auto shut off to trigger, which goes like this: once the record ends or once you reject it. Now, if you want to play a 45, make sure you have the correct stacking spindle for the 45s. And if you can't find the spindle for your particular record changer, you can just use some spider adapters, like these. In this case, I have the stacking spindle for 45 RPMs. And the same applies as before. We're going to put two 45s. In some changes it might be a little stubborn, but once you have it set, now you want to make sure it's in the correct speed. In this case, 45 RPM and all the way to the 7-inch setting. So now let's turn it on.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see.
Again, if you don't have the 45 RPM spindle adapter for the 45s, you can always use the spider adapters. And I'll show you right now. You could obtain them for pretty cheap. Now let's do this again. These are the spider adapters for 45 RPMs. Now, if your record changer supports 70 RPMs and the 10-inch position, make sure that's set and that's set. However, you want to make sure your cartridge has 70 RPM styluses available. In this one, you could actually obtain a 70 RPM stylus for it. You do not want to use a standard 0.7 mil stylus for 78s, as these are wide groove records. And I'll show you exactly why you need the 3 mil stylus. So now put your 78s here. 10-inch position. Most of these are 10-inch. But if there's a 12-inch, make sure that's set correctly too. So now let's get this to run.
It was just a neighborhood dance.
So as you see, if you do not have the 70 RPM stylus, which is a 3 mil stylus, you will hear a lot more surface noise and it could damage your stylus. So make sure the cartridge that your record changer has is compatible with 70 RPMs. Most of the ceramic ones will have flip over styles, and you can easily get a 70 RPM in one side and the LP on the other side. Now, if you have a magnetic cartridge, the best ones I recommend is the Newmark Groove Tool, because you can easily get the 70 RPM stylus. And same with the Audio-Technica AT3600, like this one has. And the other one I could recommend is the Pickering V15 or the Stanton 500. Those you could also get 70 RPM styluses for it. And so that's your basics on how to operate a record changer. If you want to set up your record changer before doing that. Just make sure your speeds are correct and the tracking force is at the correct range for your particular cartridge. In this case, like I said, this is a 3-speed. So let me show you with my strobe. You might not see it too well, but there's your 3313 in the correct space. 45. I don't know if you could see it that well. And then 78 RPM. You want to make sure that's standing still, or at least close to still, because on some changers they do play a little faster, but that's alright. Just as long as you got your changer properly configured, you should be okay with using it, and you'll have a few hours of music depending on how long your records are. And that's your basics on using a record changer. And thank you for watching as always.